Hello, I'm Murray Pollock, Managing Editor of International Rental News magazine, and I'm joined today by Jim Burke, who's Head of Surveying Technical Services at Gap Group in the UK. Gap is one of the largest, maybe the largest independent rental company in the UK. And I'm going to talk to Jim about an announcement that Gap made last week about a partnership with a machine control company, Cytec, to offer machine control services alongside the other surveying and technical services that Gap offers. So, Jim, maybe I can ask you, first of all, thanks for joining us today. Maybe I can ask you just to give us a little bit of background about yourself, how long you've been with Gap and what your role is.
Yeah, no problem, Murray. I joined Gap in January 2014 to set up the Survey and Safety Division. Up to then, Gap have been known as a plant hire stroke tool hire company. They looked at how they could get into other sectors, so they've had a really strong customer base, mostly utilities, civils and construction, and they looked at how they could specialise, meet these customers' expectations, i.e. just not provide the equipment, but also provide the service and support. So prior to January 2014, they'd already set up a non-mech division, and that was closely followed by a lifting division. So we were the fourth division, if you take plant and tools as the first. And my brief really was to look at the Gap customer base, look at the products that they were hiring from some of our tier one customers were hiring from different, not so much competition, but from what they perceived as specialist companies. Yeah. So when you look at the landscape, Murray, in 2014, January 2014, the people supplying survey and safety equipment were independent, entrepreneurial type with principals that were selling equipment, selling survey, geospatial equipment, selling safety equipment, repairing it all in-house and with a hire fleet. The only exception to that was Speedy, who actually from 2002 got involved with survey equipment and set up a separate division. So we looked at what was out there, and the plan from day one was set up a network to complement the Gap network. So as we sit here now, we're in 14 locations for the survey division. We've evolved. When we first started, we were looking at different products. The industry's evolved. So as we sit here now, we've got over 250 robotic total stations. We've got over 260 network rovers, which was unthinkable back in 2014 because that was a specialist black art place to be. And every time people associated the Gaps and the A plants, well, Sunbelts and the Speedies with survey equipment, it was rotating lasers, pipe lasers, and Cats and Jennies. So we've evolved from there, as I say, and my biggest drive all the way through was to be able to offer the service, because within hire, it's not just the asset. You don't just sell the asset and that's it. The product is the depots, the depot managers, the delivery of that product, all the support. And this is where the challenge was when you're hiring out total stations, which are basically software driven. They've got field controllers, which are laptops. All of a sudden you're in the realms of consultancy. We need support. So, quite proud of the fact that we've built that up over the years. And, right at the beginning, we had good buy-in from procurement teams within our customer base. It was the engineers, Murray, on site. The engineers were, yeah, but you don't know what you're doing. We use this one because I've always used Bob, or I've always, so that was the challenge. Now we've overcome that challenge, and now we feel, excuse me, we've got a pretty mature depot network. So now the next challenge is, and hence we'll go on to the technical services, is getting more out of them customers. The customer's expectation has changed from standalone instrumentation, one guy working on one part of the site, another guy working another part of the site, to the digital world, the joined up workflow. And we've seen that, and this is where we've looked at, what are our customers using? They're not just hiring the instruments. Their engineers have got software. When we look at machine control, they're sitting in cabins, making models, making designs. They want to send that out to the machines. So this is hence the reason, I probably jumped on quite a lot, but hence this is the reason that we've set this up,
So you're launching a machine control service and you've got a partner. So explain what service you're going to be offering and why you've chosen to go with the partner that you've chosen.
Yeah. Well, I've been involved. I started life back in 1972 as a plant fitter. So I've had 16 years, with machines. So I know the customer expectation. When I work for different companies, I have worked with machine control before in machine control departments. And the issue always was the support. So in the last probably 7 to 8 years, you've now got GPS technology, which allows the positioning of the machines. So when we've looked at getting that, we've been supplying customers with off-machine products for the last 5-6 years. Now when we looked at getting into the in-cab product, there's an install on the machine that is required. There's an installation of the cab kit and the control box and operator training. So we've looked at that and go, one thing we've done all the way through, Murray, is if we can't support it and we can't give the best in class service and support, we've parked it up for a while and gone, we'll revisit. So we've been talking to Cytec now. We've been dealing with Cytec for the last 5-6 years with off-machine equipment. About 18 months ago, we dabbled with a few cab kits. We bought some cab kits off of them. We've put them out. So we've had dialogue with other manufacturers. And the reason we've gone with Cytec really is the Trimble product is very, very strong globally. It's strong in the UK. It's now with the onset of major projects, i.e. HS2 and Hinkley Point and all these big projects, the exposure of the product is such to the point that somebody to put a resource in place to support that is really, really challenging with CapEx expenditure and all the other bits that go with it, So we've looked at our network of what we've got, our customer base. We've looked at Cytec, what they bring to the party. And one of the major factors is the training they're going to give us and the support they're going to give us. So the template is they'll install machines to start with, so the customer will still get that. We'll then be involved by shadowing. We will then supply the cab kits and we will support for the duration of the hire.
Right, I've got it. So the installation is by the specialist company Cytec, who are the Trimble reseller or dealer, if you like, in the UK and Ireland. So who owns the equipment that you're installing? Is it Cytec or is it GAP?
That's GAP. Basically, we purchase all the equipment. We obviously fleet it up. It's our fleet. So the reason Cytec are involved at the beginning is because installs on machines, you've got various different machines. So once you do the base install with the sensors and all the wiring looms and everything, that then goes onto a machine file, and that machine file then belongs to that machine for the duration of its life. So if we went and done it like there's other competitors out there that are doing it on their own, so when they go and do a base install of a machine, they create their own machine file. There's no joined up thinking with the manufacturer. So the reason Cytec will be involved in the installs is they'll create the actual machine file at the beginning. They'll run the database. So when we're purchasing cab kits and as we move further forward, hiring them out, we can just make a phone call or communicate with Cytec and go, machine number so-and-so, serial number so-and-so, and they go, yeah, machine file, load this on. So that's, if you do it on, and I've given this a lot of thought, Murray, that if you do it on your own, not only do you become almost a competitor, but one thing that GAP are really proud of is their brand. So everything we've gone into, we've protected the GAP brand, but we've looked for blue chip brands to bring into that. and the Trimble Cytec brand is very strong, you know.
Yeah.
So we feel that by putting them together, we can, with our coverage, with our network, and you know, I mean, we've got loads of fitters and that within the company. It's, you know, when we could say, well, all our fitters are going to do with the installs and all that, but no, we want to meet the customer's expectation from day one. Yeah.
So Jim, if a customer comes along and they're wanting machine control, can you fit it onto their machines, or we're talking here about machine control rented alongside your equipment? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, so it falls into two sectors. So most of the machine control equipment out in the marketplace is 13 ton and above on machines. So if a customer rings us up, Gap run up to 8 ton. So our fleet is 0.8 excavators up to 8 ton. And we've got one of the biggest fleets in the country, well, globally. We run mostly Kubota. So that product, that size of excavator, lends itself to a 2D product, really. Yeah. And that's something we're looking at for the future, a system that we can put out our own machines and hire out as a package. Yeah. This particular venture where we are at the moment, Murray, is customer brings us up. They're hiring their total stations from us. They're hiring their network rovers, what the engineers walking around with, and they want to hire machine control kits. Now, a lot of the customers that we'll be dealing with initially would already have had base installs. So that doesn't come into the equation. We just turn up with the cab kit. Our guys are trained to be able to commission that cab kit and talk the operator through to a level. They'll be trained to the point where they can download models. So that's the Gap offering to customers with machines. Where, I see in the future that we will be involved in putting install kits on machines, but the way the market's going, a lot of manufacturers are actually putting machine control kits, cab kit ready on their machines. So that's hence why we've looked at this. That'd be lovely if that was it now. So they've got a machine, it's all rigged up, it's Trimble enabled, but they don't really have a requirement for machine control because all they're doing is loading bulk earthworks. Yeah. So come a couple of weeks' time where they need machine control, they pick the phone up to Gap and we just turn up with the cab kit. So that's why I think it really lends itself to the higher model, because...
Yeah. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, because the excavators now, the 20-ton excavators and that are almost the wheelbarrow of the building, of the construction site. So a lot, if you actually done an analysis on how much of their productive time are they digging holes and digging trenches and stuff, and how much are they loading lorries. So not everybody on a big project is going to have a requirement for machine control, at a utilization that they can really justify the capital expenditure. If that makes sense.
Okay. So you're talking there about how many manufacturers are now producing machines that are obviously enabled with machine control, but not necessarily enabled with Trimble machine control. Can the Trimble technology be fitted to any machine that's enabled for machine control?
At the moment, there is obviously they've all worked very hard. Hexagon, Trimble, Topcon, they've all worked very hard in getting in bed with different manufacturers. So, going back, if you were buying a Komatsu machine, that would probably be Topcon enabled. If you're buying a CAT, it would have been Trimble. That is changing because, especially when you look at a project like HS2, we are so unique in this country, as that, you've got the main contractor, you've got the client, you've got the main contractor, and then you've got subcontractors coming in all over the place who will have their own preference of machine, and some might be commercially driven, some might be performance driven. So the short answer is no, the Trimble cab kits are not going to be the answer to everybody's requirement, So, and when we first set up this division, we were one of the first hire companies to go multi-branded. We said, you can have Leica, you can have Trimble, you can have Topcon, you can have Geomax, you can have whatever you want. We've looked long and hard at this, and because of the reasoning behind, support and service is so important to this offering, that's why we've looked and gone, No, I'm not saying forever, and it's like,
Yeah.
Cytec, this is an exclusive, agreement, but we're hoping that both parties will find it, so sort of beneficial that it
Yeah.
will become exclusive for, be the model. So as it stands at the moment, no, it's more about as well with the software, because at the moment the manufacturer's been very protective of, if you have this manufacturer's hardware, and once you want to post-process your data, or you want your data to go back to the machine, you can't do it because you need this license and you need that. But I see that changing, Murray. It's got to change because, the big clients, the highways agencies and people like that, they've put a lot of hard work into, putting templates together. So
Yeah.
it will change. I'm sure it will change.
And you're talking about in the future offering 2D machine control on your own machines under 8 tons. How long will that take before you can? I mean, is there a demand for that? And when do you think you will be offering it?
There's what's happened a lot in the 2D market. You get the manufacturers that, this is my personal opinion, but you get the manufacturers that are going to market with a 2D system and saying it's an entry-level machine control. Put this on your machine. It's got this lovely control box. You could then upgrade to 3D. What
Yeah.
my thoughts on that is it's product to application. There's applications out there where utility guys need to be digging down to a meter because they've done their CAT and Jenny scan. They know that the services are 1200 down or whatever, so they want to input a dig depth. So that needs to be simple. It needs to be press a button, put in zero the bucket on your reference point, press the button again, input your dig depth, and away you go. And the only time that operator touches that again is when he's changing his buckets.
Yeah.
Now, there's not most of the manufacturers, and we've looked at a lot of systems. So, as soon as we find the right system, we will do it. The preference would be that there was a Trimble system that would do that. At the moment, the Trimble systems, and this is something I'm working on with Cytec, but at the moment, the Trimble systems are, introduced as the first step to full-blown machine control. Well, anybody that's hiring, we've got, as a company, we've got over 4,000 excavators.
Mhm.
There's 1,000 excavators that fall in the 5 ton to 8 ton. So, they would, some of them will be on major projects and some of them could be, 2D to move to 3D. But all the other guys, the, ton and a half, they just want to dig a hole,
Yeah.
So I see a massive market for that, but it's got to be the right products. I'm giving away secrets here, but it's got to be the right product for on-off machines, quick on, plug and play, away you go, comes back in the yard. That 3-ton machine's going out with no machine control. Boom. So, the biggest issue with a lot of the systems is you have to hardwire them in. Now, there is a system out there that we've looked at that it's got magnetic plates, it's solar powered, you can put it on and take it off. But then, it's got a lovely touch screen and it's all that. I'm just concerned that, is that too much?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something. If we found the right product, we'll be having another interview next week. Yeah.
Okay, that would be great. So Jim, just stepping back one step, the driver for this is your desire to offer more services to your customers, or is it also driven by the customers themselves asking for this service? Where is the balance? What's driven it?
Oh, it's definitely driven by customers' expectation. I mean, you look at, and the thing is with Gap, there's a massive part. Well, the survey division, our customer base is 80% of our customer base is our tier 1 major accounts customers. So Gap don't deal with cash customers. We deal with major accounts and regionals.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is, most of them companies will have a digital manager. They're looking at this innovations. They're looking at, we've got this data. What can we do? Going back to BIM and things like that. What can we do to turn this data into a good productive tool? How can we verify that as we go along and make sure what we're doing is as per the design? And if it's not, can we change the design? So it is definitely driven by the, if somebody had said to me, Murray, 15 years ago, I'll be walking around with a computer in my pocket where I could email and take pictures and have an interview like this on a computer, I'd be laughing at them, and so it has moved so quickly. As I say, just taking the last 7 years, when we started this division, my first order was for manual total stations. Now, we've hardly bought any manual total stations since then. It's all robotic and network rovers. So, and it's here and now that people want to go and they want to deal with one supplier. The beauty, I would not have been successful with this model if I hadn't gone to a company that had a really strong brand image out there and customers trusted. And, you look at GAP, people see hire. If you see what goes on behind the scenes in head office with all the support departments that we've got, IT, Gap One, call center, we use a big chain, so PDAs, all this massive IT, all this comes together to give the customer a product, and this is definitely, we'd be missing the trick if we couldn't, tick a box when they pick the phone up,
Gotcha. Jim, I think that you've got some next steps as well with this technology. You're looking at HD scanners, that's high definition scanners, I guess, and also monitoring solutions. Can you just tell us a little about what those actually refer to?
Yeah, and it's exactly the same process that when you look at the HD scanning world, it was always about you needed a skill set to collect the data, but the skill set was definitely what you do with that data. So you collect it in the field, you go back to the office, you register it, you do all these processes. And it's like everything, that technology's got simpler. Now you can go out, we're looking again at the Trimble X7, we're looking at some Leica products, where you can just go out, press a button, collect that data, come back to the office, have that data already downloaded. And the reason we're looking at it, that means now that that's a hire item, because they'll use our hardware to collect the data. They'll get everything that they need. They can then off hire it, and they still can, everything's registered. They can use the data. So before, HD scanners wouldn't be a hire item really, because you'd be going, no, you need to have it. They need to take it back into the office. You need it for the duration of the whole process. Now it's just a part of the process, and it's exactly the same with monitoring. Monitoring's getting simpler, and and we've looked at YMS systems, we've looked at standalone total stations, because a lot of monitoring now can be done on the same total station that we hire out for doing setting out. It's just changing the software program. So we're looking at entry levels with that. We've looked very closely at UAVs. So what's in my thinking, Murray, is we know the customers want these solutions, but what fit our model? We don't want to be saying that, if it's something, when it's new technology, we would look for products that can be at the start of their life cycle, but when they start becoming acceptable and they start becoming, very functionable, we want them to become almost not commodity products, but core products for us. So, we're not setting this technical services unit up to be ring fenced. We're setting it up to introduce products that we can almost, give our customers confidence that then we can roll them out to our depot network.
Okay, Jim, I'm not deeply knowledgeable about surveying, so the distinction between the HD scanning and the monitoring, just draw out that distinction a bit more for me, please.
Yeah, well, scanning obviously gives you a whole picture, so it'll take a picture of the front of a building. Now you can take pictures inside, and you can take the dimensions from that and work with the dimensions. Mostly with monitoring, and the monitoring that we're really looking at is movement monitoring, environmental monitoring, as in You can put sensors, say if you were building a road for a housing estate, you can put sensors on the residential buildings, and then basically now with computers you can actually, so if you're the client, we put the sensors on, we hire them out, we hire the control panel, but then we give the client the login and they can go into the cloud, and anytime it can be set with alarms. Anytime it can say, oh, there was movement on the church, oh gosh, stop and piling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sort of monitoring we're looking at. We're not looking at, you know, massive structures and such like.
Right, I've got you. It does. And so when do you think you'll be offering HD scanning and monitoring solutions as part of the service?
Well, the beauty of the way we operate at Gap, with all these things, we can actually offer them now with the relationships we've got with the suppliers. But, you know, we want to be in a position where we can be self-sufficient moving forward. So, you know, and it's the same with the machine control offering. We've turned down quite a few opportunities over the last few years because we've gone, no, we're not, you know, we're not ready yet. And it's back to, I know I keep harping on about it because it's very close to Douglas and Ian's heart, that the brand, we don't want to do anything that the customer can come. It's different than selling. You know, if you sell something to a customer and they have a bit of a painful experience, they'll swallow it to a point. You hire it, they're just on the phone and go, off hire it, I want another one. So your brand takes the damage. You know, your brand, it's, oh, Gap, they don't know what they're doing, you know. And so that's why we're very, very cautious in the way we do it. But if somebody comes on for a requirement and it's not something that we feel we can do ourselves, we won't just say we don't do it. We'll speak to the manufacturer, you know. And that's the beauty of having such a strong company and strong brand as Gap, that you talk to any suppliers out there, they bend over backwards. Everybody wants to deal with Gap. You know, they pay on time. They're a great company to deal with. They're honest. You know, I mean, one of the things that is always hammered home by the family, really, and filters down, is integrity and trust. You know, and I think from our short conversation, you can see with me, it's probably, some people could see it as a weakness, but I'm just transparent. What I am is what you see. You know, and a lot of people we deal with are exactly the same. You know, so.
Okay, Jim. Look, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of luck with the new services, and no doubt in a you know, next year or whatever, we can catch up again and you can tell us more about what you're doing. So, Jim Burke, thank you very much.
Thank you, Murray. And apologies for ranting on a bit, but you can see I'm quite an enthusiastic guy.
That's right. No, we want you to rant on. That's fine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.